Wonderful day and welcome. We're gonna take another look at the new weapon for the Weapon Guide series, and today we're gonna take a look at a Frontier exclusive weapon. But you maybe say, hey, how is this an exclusive weapon? We have this weapon already in, well, other games, starting with Monster Hunter Tri, right? Well, yes and no. You see, the Switch Axe in Monster Hunter Frontier is actually named Switch Axe F, and even though it starts with the very similar to the counterparts in the mainline series, the Switch Axe changes and differs in playstyle in Frontier as further it goes in styles, and obviously we're gonna take a look at that today. And for that we're gonna go on the first quest with the Earth style and check out how the weapon functions there first. Okay, here we are now with the Switch Axe Earth style on the Volcano map, and Switch Axe is probably one of the more popular weapons out there, so you're probably more excited about what's going on. The Earth style itself is more very similar to the vanilla playstyle in the mainline games, and just very slight changes, and then in the next styles we move on to more juicier stuff. But so how do you unlock the Switch Axe? That is simple enough, you just need to reach Hunter rank G. As soon as you reach G rank, you will be able to unlock the Switch Axe F and be able to craft them. Depending on what patches etc. you have, you most likely will need some base materials from like some starting monsters in G rank to get like the crafting for a Switch Axe is unlocked, but then you can freely craft them and be happy with that. So now we're talking about the overlays. On the right side of the screen you can see an overlay for an Xbox One controller and the PS4 controller. These input my mimic I do in real time and are there to clarification and visualization of whatever I'm pressing and doing, and then you can use this if you have trouble to understand me speaking English or anything, or you need to translate these to keyboard and mouse layout, because keyboard and mouse layout you simply just need to see what I'm pressing here with the buttons, and then you can simply just go in, check out whatever the hotkey on your keyboard layout is, and then translate whatever I'm pressing here over there, and you can do exactly the same things. Also, for stopping the lack of confusion, I will refer to the Y and triangle button as the main attack button and the circle and B button as the side attack button. The other buttons are more coherent normally, and these two buttons are mostly used for majority of moveset moves, so we don't need to end up telling every move Y and triangle, B and circle. We're gonna just main and side attack button. Pretty simple, right? So let's start out. Switch Axe is a very special weapon. It is an axe, but also has the possibility to switch to a sword mode. So you have two different like movesets or combat possibilities in one weapon. It's pretty cool, and we're gonna go over everything one by one. First of all, on the top left you see next to the sharpness and the resource bar. This is the Axe God. This is what we're gonna call them for now, for reasons we're gonna go into later. And this Axe God is kind of similar to, well, the Spirit God in LS. So you can fill it up and then you can use it for your sword attacks. Your axe attacks don't use this bar, but your sword attacks do. The reason for that we're gonna get in a second. So how do you fill this bar? As long as you're on X mode, it fills up every 5 seconds automatically a little bit, and if you attack monsters it also fills very slightly, like minuscular, this bar up. You see there is like a line break in the god itself, and that is because if you go under that line after using the god a little bit, so if you're now under this threshold line I showed you up there, then the Axe God will have this reload button, and you can press R1 to reload your Axe God just like that. This is the quickest and easiest way to refill the Axe God in Earth style. It only costs you a little bit of animation. So we're gonna start with the Axe mode. This is the default mode and used to like easily refill the Axe God again to get into sword mode, since sword mode is using the god for its attacks. One thing to note here is that between axe and sword mode there's not much differences in motion values, but the thing is I don't have a motion value table for this weapon at the moment. Farias doesn't have that sadly. I can't tell you the exact numbers. They do have probably different motion values because the animations are different speedy, but performance-wise, they don't seem to be that much apart from each other. So you can decide if you want to prefer like the X mode or SWOT mode. This is up to you. And we're gonna go over the movesets now. So first of all, we have the main attack button. In X mode, we have a triple combo we can do here with the main button, just pressing it 3 times in a row. Does like a simple bread and butter X combo. Does very decent damage, but the problem, as you can see, is the animations are very lengthy, so you need to be careful using those, but they do hit like decently. Then you have the side attack button, which is a quick horizontal / forward, pretty simple. And then when you press the main and side attack button, you can see you can go directly into the rising slash you have at the end of the triple combo. That is for a reason, because there is a specialty with this rising slash. You can reach this rising slash, and then as soon as you press the side attack button right after, you can go into an infinite slash combo that goes left and right. Those cost stamina, but you can do it as much as you have stamina. So if you have something like Dash Juice, you can like spam this attack as much as you want, and it's a really good DPS tool, especially when the monster's like locked down or unable to move. You have like a big opportunity for some pretty speedy DPS. Then I need to shout out Sandy Loam for pointing out a little trick here. As you can see, when you go from the rising slash into the back into the infinite combo, like the 3-hit combo, the recovery animation is very damn long, right? But Sandy pointed out, if you use now the first hit of the like infinite like slashing left-right combo, then you can actually use this animation to go over into the triple hit combo backwards if you don't want to do like the stationary slash combo to recover and like kind of like skip the recover animation of the rising slash combo, which is way better and way faster. And for everyone who likes to have some optimization in combos, thanks Sandy for it, because she pointed this out, and thanks to you. And then we can do a sidestep dodge, as you probably know from the mainline games, and this sidestep dodge only works to left and right, not backwards or anything, but it also costs still stamina because it counts as a normal sidestep dodge. The uniqueness now in Frontier is that you can chain this up to 2 times, so you can do 2 times to the left or 2 times to the right with the sidestep, as long as you have the stamina. I tried before, but I can't seem to like go left right or left right. Okay, that sounded a bit confusing, but you can only go in one direction twice, up to 2 times, and not like switching from left to right or right to left. You know what I mean. Then one thing I nearly forgot is if you press the forward input while pressing the main attack button, you actually have another little attack which is like a forward slash, which moves you a bit forward, and then you can go over into your normal main attack combo. So you have like a forward dash, like a repositioning tool, so to speak, and doing some DPS on the way. Very helpful if you make some distance and need to position yourself in a different angle for the monster, or just following it up. Then on top of that, which is very important to notice, is that you can redirect your attacks while attacking. You remember from the Great Sword video where we called the charge, like directional input manipulate to the left or right? You can do the same here with the normal attacks from the axe, and then just like go left and right and switch your position while attacking. This is very helpful to follow up the monster's movements if it moves away and just attack relentlessly without sacrificing DPS in that moment. Very helpful and something to point out. Then we're gonna go over into the sword mode, where the name Switch Axe comes in play. You can switch to the faster play style of the sword mode. To do that, you can simply do R1 to go into sword mode, and then you have shorter range, but the attacks are quicker and cost God. This is because for 2 reasons. Obviously the attacks are quicker, so you can do technically faster DPS in sword mode, even though the motion values are performance-wise kind of similar. Switch Axe has, on top of that, in the equipment status, a file attached to the weapon. As you can see next to the attack on the right over the sharpness bar, you can see LF file. This means elemental file. There's 4 different files for the weapons and they have influence on the sword mode. We have the power file, which increases motion values in the sword mode, so straight up just a damage boost. We have the elemental file, which increases 30% elemental damage. Then we have the status file, which increases 20 or 30% status build-up. And last but not least, we have the KO file, which adds KO damage to your attacks when you hit the monster's head. This is not simply an impact damage, so don't get confused. It just adds the stun effect build-up to your attacks. But then in sword mode, every time you attack with the sword in the sword mode, it will cost you God. So if you want to replenish the God and keep the sword mode going, you need to switch occasionally into the axe mode to go back and forth to keep the flow going. And for that, the game has some very smart idea, and that is switching your axe mode and sword mode freely between combos. Most combos, except the infinite slash combo to the left and right, can be switched to axe and sword mode freely when you do an attack. So if you do an attack, any attack, and then press the R1 button, you can switch with a fluid motion on the fly, mid-combat, mid-combo, between axe and sword mode. Very handy and very good to just keep the flow going without sacrificing too much DPS. And as you can see, as long as you're in sword mode, the god will also not automatically refill, so you need to switch to axe mode occasionally if you wanna get the god up. So what are the attacks in the sword mode? Well, pretty simple. We have first the main attack button, which simply just does a 2-hit combo. You can chain together as much as you have god, and then the side attack does the same with a different animation. That's it to the sword attacks, but the specialty here is the elemental discharge. With the main and side attack pressed simultaneously, you go into the elemental discharge stance. This stance does a lot of damage. It's like a finisher special move you want to use whenever you have the opportunity, but it costs a lot of god, obviously. First of all, if you press main and side attack button, you just simply do a forward motion with stab motion, which does nothing on its own. You need to keep pressing the main attack button after going into that motion to keep going. So if I keep pressing main attack button, it goes over into this explosion at the end. The specialty is now, if you hit this attack on the monster, then you extend the duration of this multi-hit stabbing before the explosion goes off. And the more you hit the monster with this multi-stabs before the explosion, as stronger the explosion in the end will be too. Up to 3 times or something, or 3 seconds. So you want to make sure you have the right positioning to get the max out of this attack. If you don't have enough axe god in the end, the explosion will interrupt the animation. So you want to make sure you have enough god, otherwise you will be left open after this animation plays out, and then you just get hit anyway. And that's it. Most of these stuff, or nearly all of this, is probably just a mainline thing and plays very similar to the mainline version of this weapon. So we're gonna go over in Heaven style and start with the Frontier exclusivity changes to Switch Axe. So I'm gonna see you in the next quest. Okay, here we're back now with the Heaven style in the Volcano again. So what changes in Heaven style on this weapon? Well, quite something actually, because the switch in the Switch Axe is now broken and you can't go into sword mode anymore. Yep, this means you don't have any elemental discharge or sword mode in Heaven style. But then you're thinking, what's the point of this style? Well, I'm saying the sword mode is gone, but technically it isn't. You don't have the ability to switch freely between the sword and axe mode anymore, and are mainly stuck to the axe mode. But there's some things here. First of all, you will have access in Heaven style to the extreme running from the Switch Axe. Yes, you heard me right. You will get the extreme running on the Switch Axe already. if you use the Heaven style. And it works exactly like you won't use the extreme style running already. So double tap in any direction you're moving and then you start running. The specialty here is that it doesn't cost stamina, but instant cost X God. As you can see, it depletes the X God instant of my stamina, and that is unique to the switch axe actually. No other weapon does that. So we're gonna talk about extreme running already. Extreme running or extreme style usually has the uniqueness of extreme running you just saw there, which allows you to sprint with your weapon unsheathed like this, which you normally can't do in any weapon. Every weapon in extreme style can do this move. The sprinting normally costs stamina when running, but as I mentioned, in switch axe it costs your X God. So you need to shift your focus if you want to optimize the running or the sprinting itself. You need to focus on the God management and optimization instead of the stamina optimization and management. Also, depending which weapon you have, you will run faster or slower. This depends on your weapon. Like an S&S user runs faster than a greatsword user in the extreme running. And on top of that, nearly every weapon gets special actions or moves they can do outside of this extreme running. For the switch axe, we have the main attack button, which does the double swipe you see here. Very fast actually and very hurting. Does quite a bit of damage, and as you can see when you look at the animations is that it switches to the sword mode and then back to the axe mode here. And this is what I mean that you can't freely switch between sword and the axe mode, because sword attacks automatically get used when you do certain attacks here. And when you then press the side attack button while doing extreme running, you do an upward rising slash in sword mode, sort of. Also, from the extreme running main attack, you can actually go over into your normal main attack combo you will usually do. So you can smoothly go over into motions, and that's why this extreme running main attack is very quick and very good for DPS applying while trying to dodge the enemy's attack. Then one special note here is that if you have the reload going on, you can't reload with R1 in this style. You need to use the kick button, the select button, to reload your weapon. Because the R1 button is used for something else, and that is charge attacks. So now if you press the R1 button and hold it, you can charge up an attack. You can interrupt it before it's fully charged and just do a normal thing. Like this, like a normal main attack overhead slash. It's just a bit quicker because of the animation cancelling here. But if you fully charge now, you can move while charging. It does cost stamina, so make sure that you don't run out of stamina. And as you see, you can overcharge it, which removes the special effect and just goes over into a normal main attack. But if you now use it while it's fully charged, you're gonna do a swipe with the sword mode and apply also the file, whatever file you have on your switch axe, while doing a very quick motion. But that's not all to it. If you do this charge and then spam the main attack button right after, you can do a very fast, quick, infinite slash again in sword mode, which costs a lot of quick God, of course, but it is super high DPS. So it's very much worth it getting this one out whenever you can, and once has the right positioning for it. Then the next specialty in Heaven style, or the next addition, is if you press the main and side attack button together after an attack with a directional input on top of it to left, right or backwards, you will do a special dodge strike. So as you can see here, we do a special dodge strike which does a dodge motion, doesn't cost any stamina, but it's a quick way to reposition yourself and do file damage from your sword mode, so this is very handy. But the specialty is that you can use this as a sort of dance on the battlefield, because you can use this to permanently attack continuously. Obviously it does cost God, as you maybe saw, but what you can do now is you can do an attack, do the dodge strike, and then you can hold and charge the attack and do it again. So if you press the main attack button and hold the main attack button right after, and then press the main and side attack right after again, you can go into a chain attack here, which you can reposition freely. This is very helpful to keep up with the monster and being quick on the battlefield while applying a lot of your fire damage from the sword. It's probably something you will use a lot. Other than that, you retain the same stuff you hold in Earth style normally, and I guess the highlight is this charge mechanic, which you need to get used a little bit to, but if you can master this mechanic, then you have a really good time, trust me, because it's a really good positioning tool while getting some DPS out and dodging enemy attacks while doing some good damage. Try to master this technique in Heaven style and you should be good to go. That's it to the Heaven style now. We're gonna switch over to Storm style and see what's different there to Heaven style, because there actually is. Alright, we are back with the Storm style, and what changed? Well, quite some stuff actually, because other than the usually style changes here where mostly stuff is upgrade to each other, between Heaven and Storm there's actually a playstyle difference. Well, you know how we got extreme running and the other stuff changed in Heaven style? Well, throw this out of the window because we have something different here. The first thing that spits in your eye most likely is that the X-God in the top left corner, the resource bar, is tremendously longer, and that is for a reason. As you can see, we are in the X-God right now. This fills up just normally as a ward with 5 seconds or attacks as before. But if this X-God is now full, we have a specialty we can do with it. Well, we're gonna come to that in a second. So first of all, you retain the same moveset you will do from your base Earth style moveset. So you have your main attack, your side attack, and your rising slash, your infinite combo, etc. So first of all, the extreme running is gone from this style, so you only have it in Heaven style and extreme style itself, otherwise you can't use it. Then on R1 you have a guard point parry, which does exactly what it says. It's a parry that guard points, and you can refill your guard with this pretty quickly because it gives you a good chunk of X guard back. But if you now see that the X guard switch from red to yellow means it is full. And if you have that full, then you can actually enter a new mode, which is the light sword mode. You just press the kick button when the bar is full, and then you can see that the guard switches from the X guard to the sword guard. And that is important for the extreme style later. That's why I call them differently. But as you can see in light sword mode, there's some stuff going on here. The light sword mode itself is technically a boosted version of the normal sword mode with better motion values, damage, etc. And as you can see, you also get more range than you will do with the normal sword mode, which helps a lot with staying a bit more safe from the monster. You can also just switch back to the X mode as you normally would, but the light sword mode guard is still there, so you can still see when your sword is still ready, because it indicates on the UI, well, your sword is still there, you don't need to refill, because if it runs out and you get out of this guard, then it switches back to the X UI and you need to refill that entire thing again to get back into sword mode. So you want to manage and keep this guard going and pay attention to when it gets low, because otherwise you can't use the light sword mode. Also, another downside is in Storm style that you can't freely switch in combos between light sword mode and the X mode as you did before in the other one. So if I do an attack and then try to go into light sword mode, it doesn't work freely, so you need to keep that in mind. You can only switch between the two modes if you don't do any attacks. The animation is not too long, only the initial animation of the light sword mode is the longest, so you can freely switch quicker in mid-combat if you have the light sword mode already enabled. And while being in light sword mode, we obviously have also different attacks now to the X mode, and that is the main attack combo, which has a 2-hit combo just like before. But as you can see, due to the longer range, it looks epic. It does cost the sword guard, of course, keep that in mind. Every attack now costs guard. And then the side attack button has a new 4-hit combo which you can press with 2 times side attack. So you can do side attack once, then you do the double slashes, and if you do it again right after, you can do another 2-hit finisher move. This animation obviously is a bit longer and locks you a bit down, so keep that in mind when you're using this. It does very good damage, but you need to have the right positioning and not getting like, turned over while doing this. Also, while you're being in sword mode, you have the possibility to parry still, so you can actually keep the sword guard up without going back to the X mode and fully depleting the sword guard if you can get your parries sorted out. So keep that in mind if you want to manage your sword guard a bit more and stay in that mode as long as possible. Then you want to make sure that you practice and learn the parries windows so you can actually refill your guard on the fly. Then last but not least, for Storm Style, we also have the Elemental Discharge back, and you trigger the same as you did before in the Light Sword mode, and you just press main and side attack button and mash triangle, and this is pretty much a different animation, but the exact same thing as the Elemental Discharge, just bigger, better, stronger. Same principle, you hit the monster with this attack, you can extend the duration, hit it multiple times and extend the explosion. The only important thing is, which I probably didn't mention in the Elemental Discharge before, is that it automatically pushes you back into X mode of the weapon, so keep that in mind. And as you can see, the X and sword mode are fused in one UI, so the 5-second recovery actually applies now to the Light Sword mode too, which is very handy if you, well, need to get out of the combat and heal a bit and then just like recover a bit of guard and then go back into action. But this is all to Storm Style, and we're gonna switch over to Extreme Style and finish up the weapon styles for now. Alright, we are back with the Extreme Style now, and as you can see, there's some stuff going on. First of all, on the top left you see now there is 2 bars or 2 guards, and this means yes, you have a separate Light Sword guard and a separate Axe guard. This is because the Extreme Style is a fusion of Heaven and Storm Style together. So basically, if you have access to Extreme Style, you don't need to choose between the unique playstyles of Heaven and Storm, because you can just mash them up in this style and get best of both worlds. And it is exactly what I said. It is a fusion, so you have access to everything you had in Heaven and Storm Style, and we just need to go over the little, the little changes here. First of all, you only have the Light Sword mode Elemental Discharge, you don't have the normal one. And as you can see, the Light Sword guard is not filling up automatically anymore because it's separate now. The Axe guard fills up with a 5-second recovery as normally. Also, attacking monsters now gives you more guard back actually. So it goes way faster up. Before it was like minuscule, you can't really like notice any difference, but now you do. And the Light Sword mode can only be charged with parries. That is the special uniqueness here. You also obviously get the extreme running back and everything that comes with it. And it again costs the guard only and not the stamina. And if you're in Light Sword mode, this applies to that one too. The parry button is now gone from R1 to the R2 button, because on R1 you have now the Heaven style charge attacks and can do the exact same thing you did before. Like everything crazy you could do with Heaven style, like the infinite slash and the charge attacks, the dodge strikes. You can do all of this right now. So I'm gonna go out, parry some monsters real quick, and then one more thing to show off. So now I'm back with fully charged sword mode, and as you can see it says change, and when that happens you simply just press the select or the kick button as before and go into Light Sword mode. One thing I didn't mention is that the color of the Light Sword mode actually depends on your file you have in your weapon. I think this one is power file because it's red, but I could be wrong. Let me check. You can't see it because of the overlay, but yeah, this is power file, and then we have like other colors for the other files. So yeah, keep that in mind. I think KO is white, Elemental is like the teal color you had, and then we have something else for the status file, which is I think yellow or something. But yeah, just a neat little detail to notice. But beside having just 2 gods now and have the light sword mode and the X god separately, there's also other changes back. And first of all, you can switch between light sword and X mode freely between attacks again. Yes, one of the best features. You can do an attack and then press the like select or kick button to freely switch between attacks to the both modes just as before. Very handy. Just keep in mind that your sword, like god or light sword god, only fills with parries. So you want to make sure that you parry enough before it like goes out and you need to refill this entire thing. Just try to like keep up the sword mode, and if it goes low, try to go into X mode, parry something to get the sword up, or vice versa. And then on top of that, the light sword mode also gets access to the Heaven style moveset while being in the extreme style, so you can actually do the charge attacks you could normally do with the X mode before. So this is very handy if you wanna do some crazy combos with the light sword. And this is probably what you see the most when you see like the unique frontier gameplay of the Switch Axe is this light sword mode, because yes, it looks cool, it feels good, and it's just very fun to play. Like if you weren't sure to play Switch Axe, you definitely want to play it after this video. But that's it. That's technically it. We're gonna go back into the city, check out the active feature and tech skills, and then we are done here. See you in the city. Okay, back in the city now. We're gonna talk about the active feature and the tech skills and see what's up with that. The sigils we don't need to go over because it's mostly just motion value increases, and I didn't find any like special changes there, so we're gonna go over to the active feature right away, and that is on the top left of the screen when you're in the city. You can see icons for each weapon type. If the icon is red, this means the active feature buff for that weapon is active for 24 server hours, and then depending on the server settings, it will switch to another one the next day. Each weapon type has its own little like buff and extra boost, which can help if you optimize some fights or want to optimize some builds you maybe want to have, and then you get like this extra skill automatically. You want to wait for the days when this weapon is active to give you the little extra edge boost you need to finish whatever you want to finish. And for Switch Axe we have something very simple, and that is the recovery for the guard you get with guarding or reloading is increased. So you get a lot more when you reload or guard with the weapon from the guard, which is very helpful. Because as you saw when I showed you in the Earth style the reloading, it refilled my entire like X guard. This is normally not the case. It normally fills up to like 40% or something with each reload. There you see like the active feature buffed right away in action because it refilled my entire thing. So I'm assuming it's like nearly double or actually just 100% increase on that refill. Then we're gonna go over to the tech skills. Tech skills are compound skills for each weapon type that are available for usually endgame builds. And these are compound skills which have a base set of skills which each of them has, and then they have specifically tailored skills for each weapon, which help a lot because it's one skill activation for multiple buffs, which is very good with the skill limitations in this game when you don't have skill slot ups. If you do builds for specific weapons, the tech skills for each weapon is something you definitely want. Tech skills have 4 positive ones, where one of them is a hidden version, which we're gonna ignore because the hidden version of the skill needs like very specific conditions to activate. And then in melee weapons you just get sharpness +1, which is completely worthless because you have very other methods to get sharpness 1 easily without hitting the special conditions where you need specific gear to equip and have specific gear in your equipment box you most likely will never use. But yeah, we're gonna ignore that one. Also there's one negative version which just gives you like minus 20% damage with that weapon, but you most likely won't hit that in most cases, so we're gonna focus on the 3 positive ones. We have first the expert version, which gives you the fencing skill when using the switch axe. Then we have the master version, which gives you 10% more damage when using switch axe and the fencing skill on top of it, of course. And then on the third one, which is the max version with 30 points, you usually have a fancy name for each weapon. On this one we have the Decapitation Shogun, and you get in this version the super high grade earplugs, 20% more damage, and fencing with switch axes. Then we have something special. If you do certain actions in each style, then you can actually boost your damage by 5% for a short period of time. And if I'm correct, in Earth style this is just morphing attacks, in the Heaven style this is just doing sword attacks, and in the Storm style it's guarding. So if you guard, you get like a 5% damage boost. Then on top of that, the stamina consumption for infinite swing combos is halved by 50%. So that is very helpful for stamina management. The guard you get back from attacking is normally minuscule in X mode, but with the tech skill it's actually increased. And then last but not least is the file consumption is reduced. So if you use something like the sword mode, you will use less guard with each attack, which helps a lot with keeping up maintaining the modes. And that's it. That is everything to switch axe I could figure out in this short period of time, and I hope I have most of it. There's probably some little neat and tricks some of you like switch axe mains can maybe tell me about, but for this video this is all I called Gator because I was a bit limited in information on this, and the same will happen for Max Spike because I need to like look into it myself. There's not much information out there about it, so I need to just go with whatever I can find out myself, and yeah, we're gonna see how it goes. But this is for switch axe. I hope you enjoyed this video, it was helpful for you. I'm gonna see everyone in the next video, and love you all, have a good night, and bye bye.